Yeah.
The initial design was not what it is now.
Mm.
The truck that took the sculpture ran into a pedestrian bridge at Babalada.
No.
So, and I had flown to Lagos,
To receive
Nekwe,
it.
on the site, waiting for the work to arrive.
No. So, Bale, welcome to Design Discussions, where we discuss design. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you very much. My name is Bale Ola-Olu Olawale, and Olabale for short.
Okay.
I'm from Kwara State. I'm a graduate of Bale University.
Okay.
ABU Zaria. I studied fine arts, my first degree. I did my master's of fine arts, second degree. Then I'm currently rounding up my PhD
Wow.
in sculpture.
Wow.
Same ABU,
Yeah.
University of Bale University Zaria.
Yeah, so you've done the 3 degrees in the same university.
Yeah, the same
Okay,
university.
that's interesting. This is part of why I wanted you here, because I actually do not know anybody who has studied art on such a high level. To be doing a PhD in, well, is it a PhD in art or is it a PhD in sculpture?
It's a PhD in sculpture.
Okay.
I did my master's in sculpture. I did my PhD in sculpture.
Wow.
You know, okay, when you come into fine arts, in 100 level, you know, for the undergraduate student, 100 level to 200 level,
Yeah.
it's a general, it's a basic study,
Yeah.
basic art knowledge, you know, do painting, design, graphics and all that. But when you get to 300, or when you get to 200 and you're going to 300, 300 and 400 are specializing classes.
Okay.
So in 200 level, you'll be given a form to fill, to decide on what section or what aspect of arts you really want to focus on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in fine arts department, Zaria, we have painting, we have sculpture, we have art education and art history. So basically, if you're doing art education, or let's call it art pedagogy,
Okay.
you teach, teach in schools and all that.
Yeah.
Then for art history, we call them historians, art historians. We talk about the ages and all that.
Yeah.
Then we have the painting, you know, and the sculpture.
Yeah.
For the painting, I'm sure you're familiar with the painting, oil on canvas, painting, pastels and all that. Then for sculpture, it's basically a 3D thing. So I chose sculpture because I think as a sculptor you are a lot more versatile.
Okay.
You can actually function partly all. So my PhD, my master's was in sculpture, and my PhD is also in sculpture.
Wow, that's very interesting. You felt like it because of the possibility of doing very different things. That's why you chose to like really go into sculpture.
Yeah, it makes you as a sculptor, or sculpture makes you versatile. Makes you really, really versatile. You can delve into so many things because you know creativity itself helps you to actually explore. So you're exploring from different fronts. So you're not just limited to maybe a particular field in art.
Do you feel like you've always been this like very creative person, or is it something that you, as somebody who education has been such a big part of your art, has your artistic side come out because of the education, or is it just a flair?
Okay, let me start by saying I think it's should I say it's inherent or is inherent? Yeah. Okay, as a child, you know, I could draw very well as a child. I remember back then in primary school, I had a set of friends. We could all draw.
Yeah.
And what we do basically then was we draw cartoons, you know, Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk, comics.
Yeah.
But then, as a child, I've always wanted to grow up to become a doctor.
Really?
Yes. And every time my mom would be like, my son will become a doctor. And when you ask me, what do you want to become? Yeah, I want to become a doctor.
Yeah.
And I was very, very proud of it because my dad was a professor of medical microbiology.
Wow.
So I've always dreamt that, okay, in the future I'd like to become a doctor.
Yeah.
You go to school, they'll give you homework, give you some. So after solving some of my solves, I would draw beside the answer. Then my mom will beat.
Really?
She will beat me like, you're not supposed to do that. You know, draw everywhere in the house, on the wall, you know, everywhere. So she would beat me and be like, no, you become a doctor, not an artist. And one day one of my uncle came and was like, what did the young man do? He said, the guy just keeps drawing everywhere.
Oh.
She was not like, leave him. I'm sure he'll become an artist. And my mom was like, God forbid, my son will become a doctor. Life happened. I got admission into the university to study fine arts. Now, getting into the university, I thought I could draw.
Yeah.
So, while we're doing registration, I now met with, other students from who applied for the same course. So, you meet all sorts of people and you get to relate. What state are you from? Where are you from? So, wanted to show off. So, brought out the sketch pad, did the sketch. Then the next person collected the sketch pad, did another sketch. Then you be like, this guy's sketch is better than mine. Then you give it to the third person, did his own sketch. His own was better than, and like, at that point I knew I didn't know how to draw.
The competition.
Yeah, the competition. So, we got, after the registration process, we started lectures. Then, lecturer comes, tells you to do this, tells you to do that. I could draw very well as a kid, but I had a problem with, I didn't know how to paint. I could, even if I was going to paint, it's just going to be monochromatic, just one color. I didn't know how to mix colors. I didn't have, when I see good colors, I know.
Yeah.
But if you tell me to mix it back then, I had a problem with mixing. So the first assignment we were given was to go and paint our own portrait. Self-portrait. Wow. So I had a problem because I didn't know how to mix colors. So fortunately for me, I had this friend who had graduated. He was already practicing. I went and was able to put me through.
Yeah.
So I was able to do my painting, but you know that this is still an amateur. So as time went by, I kept, you meet your other classmates, you see what they're doing. It's a competition now, you want to be better than this. I could draw very well. Then again, I had problem with my shading.
Okay.
Because in shading, we have what we call tonal gradation. Wow. That's from dark to light, or from light to dark. So supposing you drop this cup now, and your source of light is coming from this angle. If you look this way, you see shadow. Yeah. So, but before then, I did sciences back then. So now I needed to change from sciences to art. So, and my dad knew I could draw well. So he had this colleague who was a friend who was an artist. He's a graphic artist, but the man draws well. Late Mr Marok of blessed memory. So one day he sent for me. And I said, I got to his office. He said, your father told me you know how to draw. The arrogance. Yeah. Then I'd not even gotten admission then. Sorry for taking you.
No, I'm intrigued.
So I now said, yes, sir. As in, he was thrilled by the confidence. And I said, come to my house tomorrow. Come with your sketch pad and your pencil and your sharpener. No eraser. I said, yes, sir. So the next day I came to the house. I greeted him, took me to the dining table, and dropped a pencil on the table and said, I wanted to draw that pencil. So I drew it. So, I was feeling cool with myself. And he was like, when I was done, I called him, he came, and he smiled. And he said to me, I told you to draw the pencil on the table. And I said, yes, I drew the pencil on the table. And I said, but your pencil is suspended on the table. He now called my attention to, he said, if you look at this pencil, if you look beneath the pencil, you'll see the shadow of the pencil. I can't see that in your drawing. At that point, I knew I had not started.
You're still a learner.
So he brought out his own pencil and did a quick sketch. And the whole pencil came into life. I was like, wow. So I had not even started. So he said, draw the pencil again.
So that's how you found out that you were a beginner.
Yes. So I now picked up my pencil and drew the pencil again. This time I had to put all the shades, light and shades and all that. So I submitted it and I think I scored 3/10.
Of course.
So it went on and on. So there was this day I came and he told me to sit outside. He had this abandoned vehicle. The bonnet was open, part of the engine was showing and all that. There was no tires. So he said I should draw it. But that was quite fascinating for me because you could actually see how the light, the shade transcends into light and how how they interact, the shades. And so I did that and I think I scored 5/10.
Okay, so that's progress.
Yes. So it was after that, I think a year or two later, I now got admission to study fine art. So getting into fine art, like I said earlier, I met other people that were a lot better than me, and I think I was also better than some people.
Yeah.
But in the course of the degree program, I was able to improve very well
Okay.
as compared to who I was
Yeah.
back then.
Okay. So you feel like you had some level of innate artistic ability, but
Yes.
going through formal education helped you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really polished me.
Okay. So
Yes.
you think it was worth it?
Yes, it was worth it.
The bachelor's, then the
Yes,
masters, then the. So I'll ask you this because school in Nigeria is an extreme sport. Having gone through your bachelor's, how many years did it take you to do a bachelor's? I know it's supposed to be 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. How many?
But I think I used 6 years.
6 years. Okay.
The strike.
Yeah.
And basically that's the strike.
And the masters?
And the masters took me 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
That was supposed to be
2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
Okay.
But strike and all that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the PhD. You're still
yes,
in
view.
Okay.
In view. I was supposed to spend ideally 3 years, but we had the lockdown.
Yeah.
Then we had the multiple ASU strike.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. It's just this is for anybody who's watching that is not Nigerian. This might sound very strange, but as a Nigerian, it's like, yeah, of course, you don't expect to finish in 4 years, a 4-year course in 4 years. Who do you think you are? So you spent 6 years for your bachelor's and 5 years for your master's. That's 11 years, and you have now spent 6 years for a PhD.
Well, let's say 5 years.
Okay, 5 years for a PhD. So. That's been like 16 years of fine art education. So at this point, like we should be calling you professor before it's even due.
Yeah.
Do you think it's been worth it?
Yeah, it's been because studying or getting more knowledge on what you love to do, because art in itself is like my passion. Now getting a degree or schooling further in my passion is worth it.
Okay.
It's worth it because now I'm sure you must have heard young people telling you that I applied for this and I was given this.
Yeah.
So by the time they're done, they don't really they don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah, they're dissatisfied.
But it was something I applied for and it was what I got, and that is what makes me. That is just me.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's been worth it.
Okay. That's really good. I want to ask, do you consider yourself a multimedia artist? Because you've talked about, I know you've said that sculpturing is your main form of art, but you've also talked about sketching, you've also talked about painting. So what do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself a sculptor? Are you a purist? I'm a sculptor, that's what I know how to do best. Or do you actually think that,
Okay, I think this is a bit dicey, but let me just say, originally, I'm a sculptor.
Okay.
But the dynamism of life itself. You can't just say because I'm a sculptor, then I should just remain a sculptor.
Yeah.
So you need to explore. You need to test other waters. You need to try other media and stuff. So I think I'm a sculptor. I can say that with authority. Then
16 years of authority.
Yes. Then I'm also a media artist because I also delve into other forms of art. So I think I can also call myself that.
Okay. And what would you say is like, your unique signature, your unique style in art? Like, that if someone who has been following your work can be able to look at your work across the board, across the years, and identify some kind of theme or something, say, that's Bale's work. Is that your stage name?
Bale is my surname.
Okay, but is that your artistic name?
Yeah, Olabale.
Okay, Olabale is your artistic name. So what's that signature, that theme that people can look across the board and be like, that's Bale's work?
Okay, aside the commissioned work, commissioned work are basically work that maybe a client or a particular group of people give to you to execute for them. Most times, the client might have the mind of their own. This is what we want, and this is how I want it to specification.
Yeah.
Then sometimes the client will tell you, this is what I want, but I wouldn't mind if you twist it a bit or put a bit of your own touch in it.
Okay.
Then sometimes the client will also tell you, I'm giving you a free hand, just do your thing. Now, when the client gives you that, that is when, as in, I would put everything of mine into it. Now, for my signature, okay, I love nature a lot. I love nature,
Okay.
and in recent times, in recent years, because okay, like my for my PhD research, I'm working on fish forms. In the last, let's say, 6 7 years, most of my drawings or most of my art, you'll see fish forms. See fish forms.
Yeah.
In the last 10, 11 years, if you have seen some of my drawings and some of my art, you see guitar forms or musical forms. Because then during my masters, I did something along the guitar form.
Okay.
So anywhere you see any piece of art or a facade, a still facade, you will see some musical symbols or musical forms or shapes on it. But in recent times, I play with a lot of African motifs.
Okay.
I tell stories because, like, okay, when I do a still facade for a space, we are trying to block a space. I don't just want it to be the regular, just come and put a burglary or still burglary and stuff. You want to tell a story.
Yeah.
So I come up with a theme.
Okay.
And fix it. An example of such place is the Faculty of Arts, University of Abuja.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a Faculty of Arts, and that is where creativity is born. So I did 2 still facades on the external and on the internal. So you'll see when you're approaching the building, the moment you see it, you can see story, it tells you stories.
Yeah. So you just mentioned University of Abuja as something that you've worked on. Can you tell me any other projects that you worked on that you enjoyed?
Okay. In 2017, I did some monumental sculptures for the Lagos State government.
Okay.
I did it for Amzolo 3D Pui Industries. That was for Lagos at 50.
Okay.
So I did
what was it?
a 40-foot giant foot.
Wow.
On a roundabout at Ojotubega.
Wow.
Roundabout.
Yeah.
Then another one at Ikeja, Alausa. Then the Awolowo at Ikeja, seated Awolowo at Ikeja in Lagos. Then I did a twin fish at Ekwe. They're all monumental sculptures.
That's awesome.
Then going back to Kaduna, Fifth Choker, if you're conversant with
yes,
Fifth Choker.
yes.
In 2016, I did the massive horse head.
Horse head, yes.
Yes.
Okay. That was
Chewing
you.
grass, yes,
Oh,
I did
nice,
that.
nice.
Yes.
Do you feel like those they're really monumental works that you're proud of and you're
Yeah, I'm very, very proud of them because growing up, or maybe 15 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that later on in life I was going to partake in such or execute such a project.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel very, very excited about it. And then anytime I drive past, there's this sign of achievement.
Yeah.
But I know I can still do better,
Yeah.
and I hope to.
Did you find any of these projects, was there anyone that was particularly challenging to execute?
I think the fish at Ekwe and the giant foot was tough.
What made it tough?
Okay, because now executing the work itself was not a problem.
Okay.
But the fear of the installation was where the problem was.
Why?
Okay, because now I was producing the work in Abuja. The site was in Lagos. Now, working with the site engineer, because there's a particular steel hollow section that was supposed to be used to carry the monument. Now, there's a trajectory, you understand, that must be in place for the hollow section.
Okay.
If you don't get it right, there'll be a disaster when you get to site.
As in, it won't hold the weight.
Yes, it won't hold the weight, that's one. Secondly, the angle has to be precise. Now, how do you calculate that angle? Now you're working on a sculpture, the angle is supposed to be maybe this way. The person on site is supposed to be this way. If he tilts it a bit, or we doing the sculpture don't get the right trajectory, by the time you now get to site and you're trying to install, it will not fit in. So it's either you might have to either cut or demolish the pedestal and relay the hollow section for it to receive. So all through the project, I was just praying to God that I will get to site, because we're actually communicating with the engineer.
Yeah.
The engineer has done his own part.
Okay.
His own calculations were right.
Yeah.
But we need to get our own calculations right.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to also get our calculations right because the hole we're supposed to create, you can only see what you're creating from the external. You don't know how to go inside. So, but God was merciful. Because get it to site, and the moment we, because we got the truck. The truck came with a Hayab. Hayab picked up the sculpture.
And took it all the way from Abuja to
Lagos.
wow, that must have been nerve-wracking because I mean, if this is Nigeria where the roads, we know what the roads are like. We have potholes, so I'm sure you were praying all the while it was on the journey that it's going to arrive in one piece.
Okay, let me tell you about an incident because in the process, we lost one of the works.
Wow.
The fish at Ekwe, it's a twin fish.
Yeah.
The initial design was not what it is now. The truck that took the sculpture ran into a pedestrian bridge at Babalada.
No.
So, and I had flown to Lagos,
to receive
Ekwe,
it.
on the site, waiting for the work to arrive.
No.
And I got a call that the work had crashed. And I went into depression.
Oh no.
I went into depression because, the precision, the time, the mental, the calculation and all that.
It's like, where will I start from
Yeah.
now?
So I had to now come back. So the driver, I think, got another truck, loaded the reels and brought it back to the workshop.
Yeah.
And I think I took a 1 week break because I was going
Well
gaga. So we came back, my team and I sat down and we said, okay, let's do something else. Because I think the height of a normal bridge is about 5.5 meters. That particular pedestrian bridge, I don't think it was up to.
Okay, so
That's why
it couldn't clear.
yeah, so it's shattered. So we had to now change the design in such a way that the twin fish will now be separate.
Okay.
So when we got to the site, we now coupled.
Okay.
So, but that too was another drama because there's something we call the flange. The flange is a round steel plate that connects. It connects both the pieces to the other one to the base.
Yeah.
Now we have our flange. The engineer has done his own there too.
Yeah.
Now we don't know if the holes will fit in and what position, what direction. The fish was supposed to face a particular direction. Now we've welded ours. Now we don't know if we get there and it doesn't flush. So the fish will be facing another direction. So as we're walking, we're praying.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for us, getting to site, as soon as the Ayab came, lifted the fish and dropped it. The thing just hit.
Whoa.
I was so
the
excited.
Relief.
Yes.
The relief.
So I slept differently that night.
I can imagine.
Because you know what happened? I'd spent 3 weeks in Lagos waiting for the arrival of the fish. The truck driver went through, I think, Jeba.
Okay.
I'm sure you've heard the story of one bridge in Jeba that collapsed.
Yeah.
So we had over 1,000 trailers stranded.
Wow.
So
and this was the same time?
Yeah, at the same time. So the fish too was the driver and the fish.
This is after the fish had collided with the bridge.
Yes, when we did the next one.
So the fish collided with the bridge.
At Babalada.
At Babalada.
We now did another fish.
Did another fish.
But there was a...
And then the bridge collapsed.
Yes, the bridge collapsed. So the fish was synonymous to the bridge.
And so the fish was now waiting for what? The bridge to be rebuilt?
Yes, rebuilt or they'll clear a road because...
This is art in Nigeria.
I'm telling you, because we had over 1,000 trailers stuck.
Wow.
They were stranded. It was a gridlock. So I was just...
So you were just in Lagos.
And yes, and at some point we couldn't communicate with the driver because it seemed like when it happened, the network was bad. So sometimes you might not reach the driver for a week. So we're just there, So one day the driver just called that they're still there. So we're just stuck. Then finally we got to Lagos around Lekki. Then the truck broke down again.
Whoa.
We had to wait another 5 days. Then we got some mechanics to fix it. Then got to Ekwe around 1 a.m. that night. Then the driver called me that they've arrived and they want to leave immediately. And I was like, at 1 a.m. Guy, you need to calm down.
I waited 3 weeks for you.
You need to calm down. So the next day, we had to go look for Ayab. Ayab came in the evening, pulled it out, mounted it. And as soon as we keyed it, we just bolted just to hold it down. The race started. It would have been very disastrous if the rain had started while the Aya was pulling it. The chain would have slipped off the fish.
Wow.
So God really helped us.
If that fish could talk, man, the stories it would tell, the things that it saw.
But if that had happened, no, if that had crashed again, you would have just jumped into a river and just.
Oh no, but you know what I find interesting? So like, I mean, it's very interesting to hear this from a Nigerian perspective. Like, these are not things that I think in other countries or in like a working economy you would face, like the truck crashing into a pedestrian bridge, or a bridge collapsing so you don't get your work for another 3 weeks. Like, these are the real challenges that you face in Nigeria, and it hasn't stopped you from wanting to continue working. Like, what is motivating you to keep doing this?
Okay, aside schooling, some of my lecturers were and are still my mentors.
Okay.
And as an undergraduate student, sometimes we had the privilege of following them for projects, commissions. Even when I was doing my master's, they'll get a commission and we'll follow. So, and I've learned over the years that every commission comes with its own challenges. So you need to be very free-minded. You need to be very free-minded to know that every commission comes with its own peculiar problem. So, but if you're not free-minded, then you might even collapse in the process, because the shock alone will take you on away. So, over the years, I've seen how sometimes they'll be so frustrated, sometimes they'll be so depressed, but they will never show you. They just focus on solving the problem. The problem has been created. Now, how do we solve it? Then, so that had been a driving force for me. And subsequently, after I graduated, after my master's, I worked, and my boss then was also helped in also building it built my confidence. So I became a problem solver. So anytime some of those challenges come, as human, I'll feel sad, I'll feel bad.
You don't run away from it.
I don't. I face it head on. And God is always merciful, and at the end of the day, He always smile.
That's awesome. And I think another interesting thing that this would probably be good for people, young artists who are coming up. There are certain things that you've talked about, which probably are as a result of your education, that a lot of people just think like artists are artists and that's kind of all you do. But you're talking about, and a site engineer having to do their calculations, and you have to deal with load-bearing elements and know that it's going to work. So there's a very technical side to art being art. Like, you can't just be an artist and think, okay, I'm just going to do the artistic side and leave it. But you have to, and you end up having to collaborate with other professionals in the space. And how do you find that collaborating? Because I mean, I as an architect have to collaborate with other people in my space, but we're kind of all doing similar things. But you are having to collaborate with people who are doing wildly different things. So how do you deal with that? Because we have collaborated on one project. This was the Ishaku multi-use building, and it gave me an insight. So I've known you just as a person, but it gave me an insight into you as an artist, because that project was a mosaic mural where it was a curved wall that was also sloping down, and you had to come at it as an artist, you had to be able to understand it in a 2D to 3D. So you had to jump between the 2D and the 3D plane of it because of the way we were doing it as architects. So we were drawing it out, in plane form. We're drawing out elevations and showing you the slope and the curve and all the penetrations in the wall. But you as an artist had to move between our 2D planes and your 3D understanding of it. So how do you find having to collaborate with people who are doing, whose role is kind of very different from yours? Do you find it easy, or is it like more challenging?
Okay, I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
And it can be very frustrating, yes, because sometimes, okay, there was a time we did a project, and I had to bring in a structural engineer because I wouldn't want a situation whereby I'll do a work with my own knowledge, then one day the work collapses, and they'll be like, who did this work? And are you a certified engineer? Why would you? So I had to bring in a structural engineer because I needed him to give me those calculations and all that.
Mm.
And we sat down for hours, and I was like, give me your design.
Okay.
And why do you want this design? Why don't you change it this way? And I was like, no,
No.
I wanted it this way. And he was like, it won't work this way.
Oh gosh.
So we sat for almost 2 weeks, because every time the meeting always end at a deadlock, because the guy was like, no, this is not what I said, this is what I want.
Yeah.
This is what the client wants. So we must make it work.
Yeah.
So one day we sat down, I think an idea came, and I was like, why don't you do it this way?
Mm.
And he was like, okay, I should give him a
Time.
day
Yeah.
to think over it, because I respect his profession.
Yeah, of course.
And that night he called me. He has gotten a solution to my problem. So
Okay.
let's meet the next day. So we met, and he came and he did some sketch and told me the type of steel reinforcements and what angle and how it should be welded and all that. And at the end of the day, the work came out very nice. So I've learned over the years, there are works that I get that also involve architects. And I'm very good at, I can just do it, after all I can draw. But no, I respect everybody's profession. So, some people, I think greed normally will stop some people from collaborating. They'll be like, it's my field now. But it becomes more professional because at the end of the day, it is still your name that will be on the work.
Yeah.
Nobody knows the architect that did that you called behind the scene. Nobody knows the engineer, but you will also give them credit for what they've done. But the client that gave you the job knows you, not those people.
Yeah.
So sometimes they might just be behind the scene, and sometimes you might also involve them in the project. They come to sites every day and check what you're doing. Now, okay, let's talk about load bearing. There are some places now, maybe you're trying to erect a sculpture on, let's say, a 10-story building. Now, the higher you go, the weight is supposed to be lighter. You're not supposed to carry so much weight at the top. If you're going to be carrying weight, it should be from the bottom. Now, if you don't have maybe a structural engineer to advise you on what to do, you now do that. Then tomorrow, you've not considered wind action, you've not considered rain, you've not considered a lot of things. But the moment you tell a structural engineer or an architect, he already knows. In fact, if you want it to face this way, an architect can tell you that no, you can't face this way. Even if you face this way, you need some aerodynamics, the wind. Okay, if you want it to face this way, you might need to create some maybe perforations or stuff so that when wind blows, it passes through and all that. So you need to involve them. So me, for one, I love collaborations. If I make the work interesting for me, like let me give you an example. You know Vodi Tailors?
Yes.
Okay. There's this edifice building along Barnex Road. If you're going
the
to
one that was like there's something on top of
a sewing machine.
machine.
Okay, I did the sewing machine.
Oh, interesting.
Now, when we started that project, I came up with the design because 2015 I did a sculpture of Shea Vodi himself sewing in front of his shop in Wuse. So a few years later, he now called me that he's trying to build another structure and he wants me to do that same work for him, the larger size. And I was like, no, why would you want to do that? Why don't you just come up with, let's do the gates. Let's make the gates. I'll do a design. I did a design for him. I can use SketchUp, but I'm not as professional as an architect. So I did a design for him, and the gates, the entrance, the gatehouse will serve as the table. The gate, the sliding gate, will serve as the sewing machine pedal. Then inside the gate, we'll have the wheel, the wheel that rolls the rope. Then I connected the wheel to the machine wheel itself, the hand wheel, to the base wheel where the pedal is. So we had the table, we had the sewing machine on top of the table, we had the appendages. So when you drive past from the front, you see a massive sewing machine table with a sewing machine on it. Now when I started the work, the structural engineer was like, what will be the weight of the sewing machine? So he said I should calculate the material and everything. At the end of the day, it was 8 tons. It was 8 tons because of the steel, the fiberglass, everything. 8 tons. So that helped the architect to design
the actual gatehouse.
Yes, the gatehouse. Using what I'd done, because I just did it from an artistic point of view, but he did it the professional way. Then the structural engineer said, okay, this slab needs to be this calculation, this rebar has to go in for that weight and stuff. And at the end of the day, now everybody says, who did that? Bale. But nobody's now talking
Yeah,
about the architect.
yeah.
And
So
but
there's a whole
yes,
collaboration.
yes,
when it comes
I
to
love
this
it a
stuff.
lot. It helps. It makes work a lot easier for you, and you're not scared
Yeah.
because you know you worked with the best.
Yes.
So you're not even scared of maybe there's a crack or something.
Yeah.
So
That's really cool. And who would you say, because you've been working for so long, you've been studying for so long, do you have mentors or people that you look up to that have either influenced your design, your understanding of art and design? Or
yeah, I have a lot of mentors. Some of my lecturers are actually my mentors and my role model. Then some of the Renaissance artists to read about, people like the Michelangelo, the Da Vinci, you know, when you read their works or read their books, it inspires you, sparks something inside of you.
But who would you say in particular?
I love Michelangelo.
Okay.
Leonardo da Vinci was another on another level too, but I loved Michelangelo.
Why?
Yes.
Because sculptors speak
Yes,
sculptors.
yes.
Yeah. Is there anyone in particular in Nigeria that you would look up to?
Yeah, more than one.
Okay.
I have Professor Tony Okwe.
Okay.
He's a sculptor and a professor in the Department of Finance, Zaria.
Wow.
I have Professor Ken Okoli, he's a sculptor and also a professor in the Department of Finance. And I have Professor Lamidi Lasisi, he's also a sculptor in the Department of Fine Arts, maybe Zaria. And I have others, friends and
and these three, they're men? These three men?
Yeah, they're men.
They've inspired you through their works?
Yes, and they've actually taught me from my undergraduate to my PhD level.
Wow. That's a long-standing relationship.
Yes, so they've mentored me, I've served under them, and I'm still serving.
Now, I want to talk about money and art. There is this legend of the starving artist where you are so consumed by your art and by the passion of what you need to do that you put aside the thoughts about money, or people think this, that's why it's a legend, that you put aside the thoughts about money. It's about the art, it's not about the money. But you live in Nigeria and there isn't constant light or constant, there's nothing constant about living here, and so you do have to have some level of stability. First of all, can you make money from being an artist, and how?
Okay. Yes, you can make money from being an artist. You know, for one, I'm always of the opinion that, you know, back then they'll tell you, as an artist, no, just be producing the work. Talk about
your
money.
work will speak for
Your
you.
work will speak for you. Now, when you get bills, debits from your account,
your work is also
yourself will speak to yourself. As in, you'll speak to your work and you'll tell your work, guy, please, I need you to get me money.
You know?
So you can actually make money from, and you know sometimes some artists, not all artists, get it wrong. You know, sometimes you're always waiting for to produce that piece, then you're waiting for one buyer from somewhere to come and buy it. But things don't work that way anymore. So why would I just produce one piece and waiting for someone to buy? I can actually make them either maybe produce one and make several copies. Maybe go for an auction or something somewhere and sell those extra copies and keep the original. At least you can make some stipends from that. Or you get a commission. As in, maybe an elite society can commission you to do maybe a statue of his father or a statue of himself, and you're paid for it. Or you can just say, okay, let me do functional stuff. I mustn't be producing sculpture all the time, because it's only people that really have passion. Thank you.
Income.
Yes, that can afford to even commission you. So why not deviate a bit? Like I do that a lot. You can say, okay, I'm going to produce furnitures, and my furnitures are going to be different from the regular furnitures. Put a bit of art into it, and people will, oh, wow, that guy's work. Wow, that guy's work is nice. You can do, like I saw some when I came in. I saw some side stools. They look very, very nice. Some wrought iron side stools. They look very, very nice. So you can actually deviate. But when people see it, this is actually an art piece, but it's functional.
And I think, speaking in the context of Nigeria, that is probably the most viable way to make money as an artist, just because of the way our society is set up, and people do not have a lot of disposable income. So if they're going to buy from an artist, it will be to buy something that is important and useful for their everyday lives, correct?
Yes. And again, you know, like, I don't know, I think it was recently they signed this copyright law into the law, this copyright stuff into law. Like abroad, if I sell an art piece for you and you keep it for maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, for every time you keep that work, it appreciates, the value appreciates.
Yeah.
Now, if you sell that work after 10 years, they're supposed to give you some royalties.
Really?
Yes, because it's still my work.
How is it still your work? I bought it off you.
Yeah, but it's still my work, so you still give me some royalty. The royalty you'll give me now will not be up to what you sold it, but you must still recognize the creator of that piece.
Interesting. I did not know that.
But I don't think in Nigeria someone will even carry your work and let you know that this is your work.
But I didn't know that. I thought if I've paid for something and you've given me a receipt and it's now my property.
No, it's except
Because
if you give me a commission.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
if you give me a commission to produce a work for you, now you've paid. I'm done with you.
Okay.
But now it's a piece I produced. It's my intellectual property.
Yeah.
And you now come and you want to buy it. You pay if after 10 years you sell it. You pay royalty. Yes. And that's why most of them make more money than we. Yeah.
Do you have anything in particular to say to younger artists that are coming up now? What would your advice be to them?
I'll just tell them to be resilient. It's a tough one out there. It's to be resilient and focused and patience, because you can't just make it overnight. I know that's one of the problems we have in the society right now. You see a young boy done with secondary school and he wants to be rich. Or someone just graduated from university and he wants to drive a particular type of car. But life itself is a process. You have to go through the process. Now, sometimes, I'll give you an example. When you're producing a piece of art, sometimes it can be very frustrating. It happens to every artist. At some point you want to give up, like, I'm tired of this work. It's like it's not even coming out, it's not resembling what it should be. But if you can hang it there a little bit longer, you'll get it right. But most people don't. At that point you just get tired and they just abandon it. So they need a lot of patience, a lot of discipline, and a lot of resilience. Because if you're not resilient, you might just produce some work and you're expecting people will buy it and nobody does. Then you're frustrated. And now for the younger artists again, I'm also pleading that they should also learn to be, because we have a lot of people that are talented, they are original in what they do. I also have some that are not original. They just pilfer people's works. Because, you know, like when you go to schools now and you give maybe assignments to undergraduate students, when you're marking, you see a lot of works that were stolen from the internet. It's not supposed to be that way. It's good for you to look at, study other people's work, get your ideas, and create your own. It's better for you people to say, hi, it's like this guy got his inspiration from this person. Than for someone to say, hi, this work does not belong to this person. So I think, like I said, patience, resilience, and discipline.
Okay. And just a quick segue, because you talked about like art, younger artists not being authentic and stealing art. What do you think about the latest trends of artificial intelligence and art? I know you also do some kind of like, you use, technology to draw as well as the kind of art that you do. But what do you think about the latest trends? Because there's a lot of AI art out there. Is that something that you have a problem with?
I think I have a problem with it. I do digital art too. But and it's nice actually. It makes the work faster. But I think it's gradually killing people's creativity. It's making people mentally lazy. Then no originality. I can just go online and pick somebody's work, bring it on my tablet and edit and sell. So you're not it has made life a lot easier, but it's not it. There's nothing as good as imagine sitting down for days, for months, producing a masterpiece. Tomorrow when someone comes to buy it, you understand? The person will be like, wow, you mean you did this with your hands? Yes, it took me. Like I was conversing with one of my lecturers some months ago. We did an exhibition. He exhibited one piece, very massive piece. And he told me that work took him almost 11 months.
Wow.
Some people will tell you that the work took them 2 years, 3 years. Now, a work that took you 3 years, if you're going to sell it, you can't compare selling something I just did with my my pen now in 15 minutes to something that took me 3 years to do. So I think it's gradually killing people's creativity. That is one. It's gradually losing it. it has its own advantage. It makes work fast, makes it easier and all that, but
it's not it.
it's not it.
I think you're a bit of a purist. You like art in its pure form. So that's very interesting. So lastly, I just want to ask you, what are your future plans? What is the future look? What does the next 10, 20 years look like for Bale? What are you planning to do?
I want to be, should I say, over successful? That's one. Two.
What does that mean?
Successful means you've.
For you.
Yes, for me.
Yeah.
As in, I've impacted knowledge into a lot of young. That's for me. That's success. It's not about the money now. I need the money. I need to pay bills. I need to do this and that. But again, I want to have influenced a lot of people. I want to have, as in, impacted a lot of people. Now, it has always been my dream and desire to own a massive space where people can come and be trained. Okay. They don't have to go to school. Yeah. They can be trained formally or informally. Okay. And some can also be trained informally in a formal way. And by the time they get to the formal education, they'll be above their peers. Then some that have been trained formally, they can also come and be polished more, so that when they spring out to the outer world in years to come, people will be like, wow, where did you learn this from? So that has always been my desire, to affect life positively. It mustn't be by, oh yeah, take this. No, at least teach them. Let them use their mental ability, their hands to fend for themselves. That's always been my desire.
Oh, that is so nice. And one last question. This is just like an random question. If money and time and all the life constraints were removed, what would you do? What would you be doing with your life apart from art?
To be art. Because let me tell you, because now even Earth, the Earth, if you remove art, it's just air that you have.
I think that is an awesome way to end this. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Bale. This was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So much fun. Love discussing with you. Tell us where we can find you online. Where can we see your work? Where can we follow you?
A bit of my works are on my Instagram page.
Okay.
Bale_Ola-Olu.
Okay. All right. I'll put that on the screen so that we can follow you. Is it running? I thought that this is one. I'm not sure.
I did.
So what's your design process? Really?
If you enjoyed this design discussion and would like to see more, please subscribe, like, and share.